Someone once said that marriage is like a besieged city. Some people are eager to get in, while others are struggling to get out. Is this the way you view marriage? If you give me just 8 minutes of your time, I will reveal to you what I call the 6 dimensions of focus in marriage, which is one of those things that often turn some marriages into besieged cities. My name is Dr. Drnttahbest, your host on Putting It Straight. Thanks for tuning in. Please sit down. Let's look at the issue. It's natural for a man and a woman to be attracted to each other and ultimately get married. But why do people marry? I'm sure different persons will have different reasons for getting married. You have your own. If you are married, what is or are the reasons you got married? If you intend to as a young man, what would be your reasons for getting married? Well, whatever these reasons are, generally, remember you had reasons for doing everything. Everybody has reason, and if you are married, you had reasons for getting married. Generally, for people have isolate a number of reasons that are generalized, but there are still some private reasons people have to marry, or even not to get married. So people marry in order to fulfill the desire for love and belonging, for companionship and mutual support. Some people marry too in order to have a source of steady supply of sex. And then others think it's important to jointly choose or achieve mutual goals with the person you love and on a long term. Others think you get married in order to have children. Whatever the reasons are or whatever the reason is, people do get married. But let me ask you, what are the other reasons you think when people get married, the marriage runs into storm? Share your idea with me in the comments. Thank you. Well, when people marry, as we know, think about your neighbor. If it is not yourself, think about others. Think about your uncle, the friends you know, co-workers who married and then divorced or separated. Unfortunately, many marriages usually cruise into rough seas because something don't work out according to expectations. This is when the dimensions of marriage come in. There are quite a few of them in the dimensions of marriage. I wonder if it has ever crossed your mind to ponder over such a term, an idea. Don't worry, we'll explain what I mean. And in the course of this, you have a greater understanding, greater insight into the problems that beset our institution called marriage or relationship between the man and woman. Dimension by dimension, I'm referring to the focal point that both the man and woman, the husband and wife, or the spouses have. These things that each of them place their love, attention, or importance on those things, the focal. And I'm going to explain some of those areas where these love, attention, and affection and all that are focused on, which we call the dimensions or the focal points of marriage. One, there are 6 here. One is that which I call the spouse-focused dimension. That is, the spouses, they look up to each other, they depend on each other, they want each other, they love, everything they do is targeted at fulfilling their expectations in themselves. Mainly, a man to the woman paying attention to her, giving her clothes, and the woman discharging her duties and functions to the man, exclusively to both of them, one for each other, to the exclusion of the children. That is one focal point that many married people have. The second one is father-husband-children relationship. You find that in some families, in some marriages, once the man has married, his attention now shifts from the wife and focuses on the children. Everything that the children would need, or whatever concern, that is where the father's attention is. But he forgets that he's in a marriage, and so the woman is an outsider. So when the focus of love, of attention, of every responsibility in the family is focused on the children and not the wife, you see, the woman feels neglected, becomes an outsider, and so trouble begins to brew. Focus number 3 is when it is the reverse. You have a wife who pays attention exclusively to the children and her interest to the exclusion of the husband. And it becomes noticeable that something is the matter. And so problem will brew. No man would like to feel neglected, not when he is the husband. This is a focus. This is another dimension of marital focus that brings disharmony. The fourth one is husband and wife and children focused marriage. In this case, this is mostly the kind of thing you find in Europe and America, where relatives are out of the equation. The marriage is all about what we describe as the nuclear marriage. The individuals within the nuclear, husband, wife, and the children, to the neglect of relatives. In Africa, I'm sure India and other third world countries like that, where respect for families and the extension of the lineage is important, it's an offense, a capital offense for you to ignore the relatives, and it is usually from their anger that problems come to scatter such marriage, because they would say, you have left us. Why? You marry our daughter, you marry our son, and then leave us out. We can't accept it. Number 5 dimension is when either husband or wife, the spouse, is job-focused dimension, where either of them or both of them focus heavily on their careers. Of course, that's unnatural. Something has to happen. And what happens? The basic things within the family will have to suffer, the responsibilities and the duties. You find people who postpone marriage, childbirth, pregnancy and childbirth until they are too old that when they realize they needed children, it becomes too late. Where you have a man and woman marry and they continue more on self-improvement in their career, going to the pinnacle. And by the time they realize certain things they needed to have done, not only in childbirth rearing, there are other social obligations. The time is past. You see trouble. Then the 6th, as the last, is a spouse to relationship, to relatives. Spouse to relatives, marital focus. This dimension focuses on the spouse. You see, it is like in Africa, we are very much guilty here. You find either the wife placing her attention more on her family, or the man considering his own family, his relatives, as important to the exclusion of the relatives of the wife. This brings problem, and of course, when that happens, you know, the stormy sea is what they have driven or rowed their boat into. Relatives, they would dominate and exploit and want to, particularly the greedy ones, who want to take as much as they can from that relationship, to the detriment of the children who should have been planned for, who should have been taken care of. Let me ask you, which of these equations are you practicing, or you intend to practice if you're not yet married? Which is best considering your own society? Let me have your thoughts in the comment. If this discussion has brought some insight into what you thought you knew, then give us thumbs up. And please share with somebody who needs to know what you have known. Subscribe now to this channel if you haven't. Thanks. Let's meet again